We've got a data analyst at Dairy Australia who's able to do some really good work with individual farm data. Oh, sorry, Michael. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, and look, as we've just had, testimony too, it's that individual data, looking at your own business and managing and monitoring that over time, that is the powerful information. So what Jake, who's our data analyst, has done is pull together a case study farm for us to have a look at. The beauty of this case study farm is that the farmer's in the room. So they're a local farm. It's Scott. I'll just do a bit of a lead in. Yeah. Yeah. A check. So yeah, and the Wheatleys have been in the project since it started as well, so that we've got some excellent information about their business and some of the key drivers within their business. So this is a presentation that's been pulled together, not by me, but I will not deal with every slide because we've got time restrictions as well. So I think, Neil, you made a comment earlier about milk price being one of the main drivers of profitability. And I think if you're looking at your own business, as you guys are doing, if you're looking across the years and how you're performing as a business in terms of profitability, that's where you will see the effect of that milk price and particularly feed price as well, how that affects your profitability. If we're looking at a data set across 1 year, so we're comparing different farms across a year, which is what we've got on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, but we'll just talk to the left because that's New South Wales at the moment. It's the cost of production that's really affecting profitability across the industry. So you'll see down the left, we've got return on total assets in percentage terms, and across the centre here, we've got cost of production, dollars per kilo milk solids. So what this is saying is that if you have a lower cost of production, you'll tend to have a higher return on assets. And we're going to say and a higher profit, because our return on assets is EBIT, our profit divided by the asset value. As we move across to a higher cost of production, we're getting a lower return on asset. And that's with our 32 farms for New South Wales in last financial year. Over on the right, that's Victoria, who've got 70-something data sets in theirs. And it just highlights the point. Doesn't matter where you are, it's cost of production if you're looking at an industry across a year. Kerry spoke earlier just quickly about cost of production across Australia. Now this is average data across a 5-year period. Okay, this is not just for last year. So this sort of shows us that these are sort of our lower cost of production regions, so Victoria and Tassie. And as Kerry mentioned, it's multifactorial, but a lot of it system-based, climate-based, and all sorts of other variables in there. And then you've got up here Queensland over on the far right, and we're not far behind in northern New South Wales. So cost of production being all your cash costs and those non-cash costs as well as inventory changes. So
that doesn't include 18, 19, so that's the previous 5 years, because we don't have any data yet from all the other states, but the relationships will probably be pretty similar, although Northern Victoria would be, I think,
a bit higher
if we added in. But it shows the relativity between the different regions in cost of production. And yeah, they're all a little bit bigger in southern and northern New South Wales, but the big ones are the green, which is purchase feed.
Oops, sorry, keep hitting the wrong button. Green there.
The dark blue is employed labour. So.
Yeah.
That's all leading to no interest.
No, cost of production, just cost. Okay, so look, this again is just showing our return on assets over time. The blue line is the New South Wales average. The green line is the top 25%. The point of this slide is, and it'd be better if it actually came back this way a bit further, just to show that there is normally volatility. There's ups and downs in the industry, the good times and the bad times. But unfortunately, we're currently in a period where we've had, from about 16, 17, when we had the price collapse, we had that factor, but then we just haven't been able to get out of the drought. So there's been no ups to weather the downs.
Your top 25% absolutely mirrors the whole industry.
That's right, they're still under the same influence.
So apparently those businesses are operating at different levels.
In other words, we're all in the same boat.
Well, the other challenge I find, Neil, is this line, this data, includes this data.
Yeah.
So if you take that out, what are we looking at? So what we want to know, and I guess it's very it's challenging times, and to stand up and talk about farms that have done well in the industry over the last financial year. Some people mightn't be particularly comfortable with that because we know it's particularly bad out there. But we know we've got farms that have made a profit, and I think one of the things we can use this data for is to understand, have a look at their data and say, well, why? How have you done this? What have you done with your business to position the business to get through the current challenges?
I like your slide.
Yeah, credit to Jake Musson, but which is why we can't beat them. So our case study farm. Now, we must thank Scott because it's very generous of you to have this data put up and to share your story. So I'm going to talk to the numbers first, but the really important thing in this is we've got the numbers, but we need to know the story behind the numbers. And I'll have a bit of a chat with Scott to get the story, because you can look at numbers and unless you've got the context behind it, it means absolutely nothing, okay? So again, return on assets and this is the duration of Farm Monitor in New South Wales. So our dark blue line is the Wheatleys, and then we've got Northern New South Wales and New South Wales average. So you can see that for the last 4 or 5 years, the Wheatleys have been managing to make a reasonable profit. And I'm saying profit even though it says return on assets because our asset base hasn't changed. So we're looking at EBIT effectively over that period. For sure, it's declining in the last couple of years, but we all know why that is, because it's happening to everybody. So in terms of financial traits, now these numbers are for the business over a 4-year period. So it's not last year's number. It's averaged out across the 4 years. So cost of production, $6.62 per kilo milk solids is really good. If we're talking about, forget the drought, if we're looking at a business in New South Wales in normal, average times, whatever they are, $6 is kind of where we think is a good spot. So to average $6.62 across 4 years when we've had 3 pretty shocking ones is really good. And I guess how have they done this? Well, it's cost control, and I think, Kerry, you were saying a lot about cost control earlier. So our variable costs, our herd shed feed costs are $3.95 per kilo milk solids, which is about 50 cents a kilo milk solids lower than the Northern New South Wales average. Overhead costs, so cash overhead costs, paid labour, insurance rates, those kind of things, repairs and maintenance is $2.66, and that's nearly $1 under the Northern New South Wales average. And I think Scott, from memory this year, so I always also collect Scott's data, but from memory, your repairs and maintenance was actually...
Yeah, it might have been less even.
Yeah, so you've done well. Profit, again, this is across the 4-year period. This isn't this year's profit. It's $1.62 per kilo milk solids, which shows you're doing things fairly consistently, which is fantastic. Physical numbers. So this, if you're doing a dairy base or a dairy farm monitor analysis, it's the whole farm's performance. So we look at the physical and the financial. In terms of, and again, so this is across a 4-year period. Milking cows, they've sat around 286, which is around the same as the Northern New South Wales average. We've got fantastic pasture utilisation tonnes of dry matter per milking hectare. Pasture utilised is nearly half a tonne better than the northern New South Wales average. Cost control, look at homegrown feed costs, they're 2/3 of the rest of northern New South Wales on average. Good cow production and labour efficiency, which is, you know, I think Kerry had figures there for the rest of New South Wales. Northern New South Wales tends to have a lower labour efficiency than southern New South Wales. I think northern New South Wales was about 44,000 kilos of milk solids per FTE from your thing, but Wheatleys are more efficient with their labour usage compared to the northern New South Wales average.
How many hectares on that?
We'd say about 130.
Yeah, 130 hectares.
So just over 2 cows to the hectare.
Yep, yep.
So when you were looking Andrew Farr's cows,
Yeah.
were they in that number too?
In the last year, yeah.
Actually, do you want to come up, Scott, and we'll
Yeah.
just give you...
Yeah, so they were, we had them from June, some went in October and the rest went in November. So they sort of played with the figures a little bit last year, but I think when you do the sums at the end of the day, what it cost us, there wasn't probably an awful lot in it, to be honest. Milking those extra, it's worth a try. Like we were milking 400 cows through spring just to see how it went. But when we did the figures, we were probably making, well, if we had the same milk price now as what we did back then, they wouldn't, and we're only milking sort of just over the 220 now. At the end of the day, there wouldn't be much, probably not much difference financially. But we were milking another 180 cows. Yeah.
The figure down here, the tonnes of dry matter purchased, this is for the financial year, so this is a 1-year figure. And we can see your reliance on purchased fodder has been less than the northern New South Wales average, which has reduced your exposure to that really expensive fodder market. Just quickly, we can sort of see over time, pasture utilisation on the milking area, that blue line for the Wheatleys has increased, and also grazed pasture per cow has done a bit of a bumping around, but that's, you know, you've got to look at the calculation to work out what's happening there. But, you know, you're currently doing around 4 tonne of dry matter per cow, which is, we aim for around 3 to 4 tonnes of dry matter per cow, so, you know, doing really well. So, there's the numbers, now we need the story. Yeah.